I'm Natalia Loback, and this is Change Course. Swan Song. A swan song is a person's final performance before they retire. When you heard that iconic piece of music, it's interesting the visuals that we see when we hear the music. And if you aren't sure what I just played, it was Opus 20, number 13, number 4, the Allegro Moderato from Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake. And when we hear that music, we so often see that visual, the 4 dancers linked arm in arm, dancing across the stage, dressed up like swans. You may have been seeing a lot more of, first of all, the music and this imagery being played out over social media, through other forums, and it's not a coincidence. So where Swan Lake here in the Western world might mean just, a cultural performance of ballet by Tchaikovsky, Swan Lake is one of the most famous. It was actually performed for the first time in the 1700s, or I apologize. It was performed for the first time on March 4th, 1877, and it was a dismal failure. And one of the reasons why it was thought to be a dismal failure was because of the ending. And it's important to think about the ending in that this beautiful story was made by combining fairy tales of Slavic and Germanic origin. And so the story of Swan Lake is one of tragedy, where 2 lovers cannot be together. There is evil, there is enchantment, and the only redemption is through death. It was a horrible failure because for many of these fairy tales, or at least the sanitized versions of fairy tales that people were more used to, had happy endings. And so people expected and people wanted a happy ending. So the ending of the ballet was changed. But then it started to take on a very specific cultural significance. And as the Soviet Union went through many changes, especially changes in leadership, Swan Lake was broadcast over the state TV networks when they needed to distract because there was either a death of a leader, and more importantly, Swan Lake was broadcast on repeat for 3 days after the coup d'etat in 1991 that then resulted in the dissolution of the Soviet Union. So now, thinking about the modern context of this story, what does that visual of dancing swans mean? And what does that music of dancing swans mean? So, we've been seeing this imagery repurposed in a different way because the meaning and the story that is behind that visual and that music is one of change. It was used as a signal and as a symbol to say change has come. without actually saying anything at all. So now that we see these images coming up again and being repurposed as images of protest and sending a very specific message to leadership of now it is time for us to change. The end for you is here. This is one of the most interesting examples that I have ever seen in how story is used to transmit information, transmit ideas without actually saying anything at all, because of the stories that go along with what those images and that music have meant in the past, how that is now being repurposed to tell a very different story and to transmit a story about the future. When we're using story in our personal and professional context, this is really, really important. And thinking about this example can give us a lot of ideas about how to craft story, use symbolism, and transmit those messages in a very different way, such that people can fully grasp and understand what it is that we're trying to say. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, I invite you to like, share, rate, and subscribe because it helps others find us. You can find our show notes on our website at www.charthouse.ca, where each episode has a page under the Change Course podcast. So anything that I referenced in today's episode will be posted there so you can find it. While you're visiting us, sign up for the Change Navigator newsletter. You'll get a monthly dispatch of all things change, what we're working on, and our latest research. Our music is Levity by Emily Classen. Change Course is available wherever you listen to podcasts. We also have an accessible version on YouTube with fully edited captions. You can find the link to our YouTube channel in the show notes. Thank you again for listening, and remember, it's never too late to change course.